Hello and welcome back. Today we have the Hitachi Partwork, the Dalek, build the iconic Doctor Who monster. So this is the new Doctor Who Partwork magazine from Hitachi, and we will be building the Dalek as it was seen in the original Dalek episode from 2005. I think I've seen this is going to be a half scale to a full-size Dalek, so it's going to be big. One piece I have the character options 18-inch remote control Dalek, which was done back in sort of 2010, 2011-ish, give or take. I don't know, it's been a while. This is the eye stalk of the 18-inch. So even now, without taking it out of the packaging, you can see here that it is going to be sometimes bigger than the character option 18-inch Dalek. We'll get this out, we'll open it, we'll start looking at it, and we'll get some more information on it. But before we do that, so I subscribed to this. It is launched nationally, I think, as at last week. I think the first issue was hitting shelves around the 9th or 10th of January. So this is a weekly Partwork. I think the first issue is out for 2 weeks, so it should still be on shelves. And if I'm right, issue 2 will likely be launching next week, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the exact details. I've subscribed to it, so obviously I get it as and when Hitachi send out the issues, which is once every 4 weeks. And based on previous Partwork magazines I've had with this company, touch wood, they are normally pretty consistent. I've done a number of the Marvel graphic novel Partworks in the past. Marvel Fact Files, and I'm currently doing the Warhammer Combat Patrol. They have been, again, touch wood, pretty consistent in their dispatch schedules, sticking to every sort of 4 weeks with, if it's a Partwork, a weekly Partwork, then 4 issues inside your dispatch, with the exception of the first one where you get the first 2 issues. I believe if you subscribe from issue 1, you get this one for $1.99, which is the retail price, and you get issue 2 for free. At least that's how it appeared on my invoice register or invoice sheet. I think as part of the free gifts for subscribing, you get 1 issue free. So I think if you do it from issue 2 onwards, you get part 3 free, and so on. And you obviously get some other free gifts. I guess we'll see those in a bit. But yeah, this arrived for me. Well, I've been out of town, so I think it arrived Wednesday or Thursday, and was waiting when I got home earlier today. As I said, it contained issues 1 and 2. It also contained the first free gift for the subscription, which is a generic PVC Doctor Who keychain. It's clearly some old stock. It's got the older logo. It was licensed in 2018. I mean, it's a Partwork magazine. It's a free gift, and I they're novelty bits. They tend to be a little bit of old hat. There's nothing, amazing with them. You're here for the part work, not for the free gifts. So that's cool. It's nice to have. You know, it's not going to complain with anything on it, but we're here for the actual Dalek itself. So as I said, I got the first 2 issues. Like the Combat Patrol series, it comes in a black grey cellophane shipper, which is a little disappointing, as you can see here, you know, magazines tend to get bent and bashed around in the post because they're in just a generic shipper rather than any cardboard packaging. I don't know if that's something they do for all of their part works now. I know in the past the graphic novels used to get sent in a cardboard box, which stopped them from getting too much damage. They used to get bashed a little, but not too much. But besides, you know, the odd magazine being bent or curled or something, you know, the actual content itself is perfectly fine. And let's be honest here, if you're collecting this, you're collecting it for the build model, whether that's the Dalek or, you know, a Terminator or whatever series it is you're doing. But yeah, let's get these open. Let's start having a look at them. Let's see what we got. Let's see how the build works. We'll start obviously with issue 1. I'll get this open and then I'll be back. And here we have issue 1 out of the packaging. So what do we get? We get our first part of the build, which appears to be the eyepiece and the electronics for the light up feature. How this assembles, we'll see in a bit. We get the Dalek magazine. It's fully stapled with these little ring hooks on the end. I know there's going to be a folder to store the magazines in. I'm assuming the folder will be a standard ring binder, and these will just hook into the bit, rather than some part works where you've got plastic bits to slide in and keep them secure, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. Again, if you're collecting this, you're not collecting it for the magazine, you're doing it for the build. You also get the advertisement pull-out. So on the front here we have the model of the Dalek as how it is likely to look when it is built. It's a unique 1:2 scale model with exclusive features. I think that's going to be, it opens up and there's the mutant inside. Probably some light up features, maybe some sound effects, I don't know. I guess we'll see as the part work progresses. I think the part work is 80 pieces or 80 issues, which means it's going to run for about 2 years, give or take. I might be wrong. There's hopefully a Q&A in here somewhere which will tell us how long it's going to take to complete it. But yeah, usually about 2 years is the standard with these things. But yeah, looks like it's going to open up into a poster, which isn't that uncommon for the magazines. So you open it up and fold out to reveal the build, the infamous Doctor Who monster with authentic features. As you can see from the poster, there is going to be a it's going to be fully reproduced based on the Time War Dalek. Getting a detailed interior, some interchangeable weapons, remote controlled movement, that should be pretty cool. It's a combination of die cast and I guess ABS parts, but we'll see. With built-in sound effects, working lights, light up eye stalk, The iris changes focus, so we're going to be able to get it zooming in and out. It's a 1:2 representation with a base size of 60 centimeters, 48 by 48 by 11, with a total height of 82 centimeters. I'm not quite sure what that is in feet. I think it's probably going to be about 3 feet, give or take a bit. I'm not too sure. The materials is die-cast alloy, metal structure, ABS plastic for details, and mechanical and electronic parts. It's got an approximate of 700 to 800 pieces. Oh, I'm wrong. Oh, it's even bigger. It is... The model is completed in 140 issues. Oh, that's a lot more than I thought. So that's 3 years. All but. With all parts belonging to a kit. So this is quite a significant bigger build than I anticipated. 3 years is longer than I thought. Normally these things are about 2 years. Not sure how I feel on that. Well, it's so big it won't show up properly on my camera, but you get a poster of the Dalek as it appeared in the 2005 episode The Dalek. There's a QR code there. I don't know if it'll work, but you can potentially scan it. And just going back, there's also the website there if you're interested. Then there's a summary of what we can expect to see in the magazines. So we're going to get an anatomy of a Dalek, which will give more information, I guess, on how the Daleks themselves are built and their history. Looks like we're going to learn more about the Daleks' history and some of their, I guess, episodes and behind the scenes, and then obviously a step-by-step on building it. And then on the back we get a summary of what is on offer if you subscribe. So if you subscribe, we'll get 4 free gifts. So you get your keyring, which we've seen. You get an issue free. So yeah, it does look like you'll get issue 3 free if you order from issue 2 onwards. You get a toolkit, which is something we're probably going to need in building. Be interesting to see the quality of the build kit. I mean, that's Stanley knives. I don't have one lying around at the moment, but I have. Oh no, I don't have one of it to show at the moment, but I have half a dozen of those things lying around there. You can pick them up in Poundland, so I don't imagine that's going to be that great, but it's nice enough to have. I'm going to get the binders. I believe you'll get 1 free binder and the rest will be charged for throughout the series. No, it doesn't say how many binders we get, though it does clearly state just for your free issue will differ depending on your starting issue. So yeah, that will obviously impact which issue you get free. And then you also get a mug, which is standard fare with these sort of subscriptions. Summary of what issue 2 is. Yeah, it's published weekly from issue 2 onwards. Issue 2 is $7.99, but because I subscribed, I got this issue 2 for free, which we'll see in a bit. But thereafter, it's $11.99 a month. I think there's also P&P charges, but yeah, that's a usual fare with these sort of things now. Okay, so let's have a quick flick through the magazine, and then we'll move on to the build itself. I'm not going to show every issue or every magazine. I'll just give a quick flick through so we get an idea of what we can expect. Anatomy of a Dalek. So yeah, that gives a breakdown of what the Dalek is. History of the Daleks. So this issue looks to focus on the Time War. Breakdown of the first Dalek appearance in the 2005 revival. And then at the back is a step-by-step on building the set. Yeah, so in here there's a total of 16 pages. Back of issue 1 shows issue 2 and our preview of issue 3, which looks to start building the dome. So I'm guessing this is a top-down build, but I suppose being a part worker they could shake it up halfway through, and we'll see as it goes. How and where I'm going to store this for the next 3 years as it's slowly being built is a good question. The other good question is how I'm going to store this after it's built. That's the problem for 3 years from now, me. That's issue 1. It's same with issue 2, 16 pages, same fare. And preview of issue 3, which we just saw, and issue 4 is going to be one of the lights and part of the dome. That looks like the bit for the eye stalk of the dome. So I guess we're getting the front piece and one of the eye stalks. So yeah, it does look like we're building out the dome to begin with, which, even if incomplete, should look quite impressive stood somewhere as it slowly goes through. I'm going to have a quick look at the build, see how that looks and how that fares, and then we'll be back for a little bit more. Okay, and I'm back. I've taken a look at the instructions for part 1. I'm going to do part 2 separately in a bit. This does appear to be quite a intensive build. So if you're on the younger side, you're definitely going to want a parent or an older sibling to give you a hand in building this. In fact, I think the entire Partwork's aimed at keep out of reach children under 14 years of age. Excuse me, I apologise. That's not to say that anyone under younger from 14 could build it, but it's obviously quite a complex bit with a lot of very fragile and delicate parts. So if you are getting this and you are building it, follow the instructions very, very closely, stage by stage. Having looked through part 1, you will need a few bits. To get you started on this. I would recommend having a Stanley knife of some kind, mostly just to undo the tape on the back of the box so you can slide it all out easily without things going flying or risk of breakages. You are going to need some tweezers of some kind. These will be used to hold the islands to stop smudges or marks or etc. You're going to need some super glue. Any sort of regular super glue should suffice, but that's needed to secure a piece of the build into place. I believe the reason superglue isn't included in the build is because there's laws prohibiting the postage and dispatch of superglue, but I might be mistaken on that. And you'll probably want a tweezers, some toothpicks or cocktail sticks of some kind, and a piece of paper or card for the superglue again, which we'll cover and go through as we get to that stage of the magazine. I've turned this round the other way so that I can read it as we're going through, but you're able to see the build as it's being done. So with part 1, we will have the eye housing, the eye aperture, the circuit board casing outer, the inner part for the circuit board casing, a nut, the eye lens, our circuit board, and cable with connector. With the circuit board, it is noted that it can be easily damaged, that they recommend the study of the instruction carefully and assemble the parts as soon as possible. I assume the reason for assembling the parts as soon as possible is if you need a replacement, you can probably then contact the customer services and hopefully they will have the replacement in stock. You don't want to wait until the end of the build and then find that there's a problem that you can't get a replacement for. Take care of the assembly so that you don't have to make any adjustments which might damage the circuit board or the screens. So to start with step 1, it asks you to get the circuit board, which is within its own protective plastic casing. Okay, and this is our circuit board. I'm not going to pretend to know what the various bits of the circuit board do, but I do believe this is going to be for the use of our eye lens and the circuits in that. Stage 1, remove the protective film from the circuit board. There is a tab using the tab in the corner, and you just lift it off. So take off the protective cover from the back of the circuit board. Okay. We then need 1G, which is the circuit board, 1D, which is the inner casing, and the inner casing is inside of 1C. So you can see that there. So that is our inner part. You want to place that face down. Okay, turn the circuit board over so that the screen is facing down. So that's our screen. Take the inner casing and got 3 pegs there on the back, and these will fit into the 3 holes on the circuit board. So you can see that there are 3 holes. These are just lining up with the board. What you want to make sure you're doing is putting it on very, very gently so as not to catch and or scratch the screen, as I assume that screen will be the Dalek's eye lens when everything is fully connected and working. Okay. We then want the outer casing, which is part 1C, and fit the assembly from step 2 into the casing that pegs onto the back of part 1D, fit into the sockets of part 1C. Such as yep. Okay, so I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, if you can see it, but there are 3 female peg ports on the inside of the eye casing, which will hold the male pegs. So again, it's just a case of lining these up, as gently as you can until everything is fitted together nice and snugly, like so. Okay, we then need to take our lens and fit it into the aperture. So the aperture is part 1B, which is the actual end of the eye stalk itself, and this will have the lens. Okay. Okay, this bit is going to take some careful positions so as to not ruin things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a cloth. Bear with me. So I just went and got a basic lens cloth I had lying around. If you wear glasses, no doubt you'll have dozens of these lying around somewhere. And if you don't, hey, look, having glasses finally pays off for something. But no, I've got that just because I don't want to smudge or smear the lens as I take it out of the packaging. And I've lost the other bits. Just put those to one side. So here we have our lens, I think. But it's a clear plastic rather than a glass, so scratching it shouldn't be so much of an issue, but again I don't want to get smudges or things on it. The lens is convex, so you can see here it does come up into like a dome shape, and fitting the lens it is positioned with the convex side downwards, so it's coming in, so the convex faces out, and the flat side will face upwards into, and we need to ensure it's fully pushed in before we finalise the assembly. This takes a bit of force. It does get slide in, but it sort of wants to rest on it, so you need to put a bit of force in, pushing the lens into place. As it's a plastic, there's very little chance that you're going to break it, which was one of my concerns originally. I thought this might be a glass or something a little more fragile than it actually is. That. But I've just been, all you need to do is, once it's in, is just sort of push around the sides, you'll hear it click into place as it slides into place, and then once it's in, you can see it's in firmly. I'm just going to take my lens cleaner just to make sure there's no smears on the inside of the lens. I want to seal this all up and then find that there's a big giant fingerprint on the Dalek's lens. There we go. So that is our lens assembly done. Moving on to step 5 for this build. For step 5 we are fitting this piece and the lens with the circuit board together. So we are fitting, per the instructions, fit the assembly from step 3 into the aperture lens from step 4. Okay, so what you might be able to see here, I'm not sure if it does show up on the camera or not, is that this part of the lens has 3 little tabs. Now, what the instructions say is that the tabs are different sized. I'm not 100% sure if they are or not, I can't quite say it, but it does say that they're different sized and that they will then fit and lock into place with this. So making sure and is assembled. There you go. Slides in nice and easy, and then hopefully if I twist it, yep, so it fits in nicely, and then you just give it a good twist until you hear it click into place. I don't know how well this is going to show up on the camera, but here I think you can just about see the tabs sort of, they don't go all the way around, but they clip in. There's a little ridge on under this side which clips the tabs into place. And while it's not 100% clear from the instruction, that does appear to be how it works on the pictures shown. Okay, so that is our assembled bit here. We now need to take our cabling. This is all wound together. We're going to need to unwind it. I would recommend being very careful with here. You don't want to break any of the what I assume is the copper wires inside, and equally you don't want to damage any of the tabs here. Okay. It's all wound together very, very awkwardly. But there we have our, going to straighten this out. ends of these are the same either side, so there's no fear of plugging it in the wrong way or not. All you need to do is take one of the SX connectors as they are labelled and plug it into the socket on the circuit board. Now the SX connector has SX written on one side, and if you can see it, it has little pins on the other side. You're taking the pins and making sure they connect into this. So, there we have the wire connected in. It doesn't push all the way in, so don't over force it. That's the first part of this assembly done, so I can put that to one side. Part 2 of this part of the assembly is going to need some super glue. What we have is the back plate of the eye stalk and a screw bolt. We need to glue the screw bolt into position here so it doesn't slip and slide around. So per their recommendation, they recommend using a small amount of super glue to fix the nut into place. They recommend potentially using a gel type because it's easier to control. However, any type of super glue will work fine. Just put a small dab on a piece of spare paper or card so that you're not overspilling anything, and take one of the toothpick, cocktail stick, whatever you prefer to call them, and taking a small dab on the tip of the stick. Just apply a very fine amount to the inside of the housing. Personally, I am running it on the walls of the housing. One, it's easier to apply this way, and two, there isn't a risk that the glue will over spill or drip onto the bolts of the nut. So take the bolt and just drop it into the housing, and then I'm just going to hold a little bit of pressure just so it stays in place while the glue sets. then going to assemble these two pieces together. The first thing to do is take the SX cable, feed it through the end, and then we're going to screw these two bits together. So much like this piece and the inner casing clipped into place, this works on the same principle. So using the free slots, just take it and carefully line it up, and then there should just be a twist at the end, because there's always a twist at the end. Should drop into place. So also and there. Just going to put this on pause so it doesn't seem to want to look together. Okay, so I had assembled this slightly incorrectly. The tabs here and here are different sizes. You need to make sure you're fitting them into the smaller tabs, and they do clip in the entire way. It just takes a bit of a twist to make sure they are locked into place. So now we just take the bit, and I am actually glued. Oh, that wasn't good. Careful with super glue. Taking this should now slot into place. Yep. And twist. So it slots into place and just locks in. This one locks in a lot easier. Yep, locks in a lot easier. And there we have our Dalek eyepiece. I have to say that looks pretty cool. Even now, you know, you can, if you're a customizer and you wanted some Dalek prop or relic, even just having the first part on its own, you could make something pretty cool and impressive out of that. But that is part one. It's now complete and ready to be stored until you assemble part two or the rest of the model. I have part two here. We are going to proceed with the assembly of part two. However, this video has been quite lengthy as it is, so I am going to assemble part two in a separate video. These will be uploaded pretty simultaneously, so if you're interested in watching part two afterwards, it should be available. So I will be back very soon.